Hi, in this video, we're going to talk about the oscillator section when we are using retro synth in analog mode. Okay, so I've started a blank project in Logic Pro here, and as usual, it's asking me to create my first track. So I'm making sure that I don't have Open Library turned on because we won't be needing that. And I've selected retro synth as my software instrument. And I just click create. Okay, great. So as I said, we'll be referring to this section, the oscillator section of RetroSynth in analog mode. So the first thing we should talk about really are the shapes or the oscillators. So these are two oscillators, each producing a definable waveform. So in shape 1, we've got square wave, sawtooth wave, noise wave, and in shape 2 you can also select square wave, sawtooth, but you can also select triangle, where you can select noise in shape 1. You can also select a pulse wave and choose a sort of percentage between the square wave and the pulse wave. The pulse wave has a similar harmonic structure to a square wave, but the relative amplitudes of the harmonics is different, and you can select a percentage between the two. So when you are selecting your sound, you can basically just find that sweet spot that you like for the sound that you're making and just sort of land it there. Okay, so what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to select sawtooth on this one, and I'm going to leave it on triangle for shape 2. So let's have a listen to that. I'm just going to bring up my musical typing keyboard by holding the command key and pressing K on my keyboard here. And here we go. I can use this to play some notes. Okay, so what we're hearing there is a mixture of the sawtooth wave coming from oscillator 1 and the triangle wave coming from oscillator 2. We have the mix slider here, so I can balance the relative levels of shape 1 and shape 2. So obviously if I drag this all the way to the top, I'm only hearing oscillator 1. That's our sawtooth wave. If I drag it to the bottom, I'm only hearing oscillator 2. The much softer triangle wave there. And then I can obviously find a percentage between the two that I find most appropriate for what I'm making. I'm just going to bring that back to 0.5, so it's an equal amount of the two again. Great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch shape 2 to sawtooth. So we're hearing two sawtooths, or one basically, because it's summed together. Okay. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to change the semitone dial here in the oscillator section next to shape 2. And what that does is it transposes the pitch of shape 2 relative to shape 1 by the amount of semitones that I choose. So for example, if I want shape 2 to play at a perfect fifth above shape 1, that's 7 semitones above. Or if I want it to play at an octave below shape 1, I do it at minus 12 semitones. And then again, of course, I can mix between the two. So maybe I don't want that lower harmonic to be so loud, but it's still there present in the mix of the two to kind of help thicken it up a bit. Okay, I'm just going to reset that now. So that's the semitones. I'm going to bring that back into the middle. And what we have here is the cents dial. A cent is 1/100th of a semitone. So imagine 100 divisions between one semitone. That's what cents are. So it's a very fine pitch control. And it's very good for getting that sort of really, really warm sound. So for example, I've got two sawtooths playing now. And now I'm going to change this to 1 cent. So it's got really big and wide modulated sound to it because those two oscillators are just slightly different. And the sort of harmonic that you hear, that sort of movement that you hear in the sound is basically where, the two oscillators, the two cycles are never really syncing up. One's slightly slower, so it's starting slightly later than the other one. So one cycle's just slower than the other, basically. So that's why you get this big sound. But even at 1 cent, it can be a bit much. So again, we adjust the mix slider. So I might just have that at 0.2. Maybe at 0.1. And now compare that to just 0. The slightly detuned version is there in the background, but it's just about low enough to be not distracting, but it's still kind of warming up the sound. So that's semitones and synths when using oscillators in analog mode in a retro synth. The shape modulation and vibrato we're going to come back to in another video after we've explained a bit more about modulation. See you in the next video.